Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today is Wednesday, April 8, 2026, and we are unpacking an absolutely insanely exciting movement happening around the San Diego Wave, which is a professional women's soccer team.
The energy there is just unmatched right now.
Truly unmatched. And for you listening, we have two incredibly revealing sources guiding us today.
Yeah.
We've got an insider interview with marketing expert Joshua Andrews, and we also have an actual internal campaign strategy document from the Wave itself.
Which is a goldmine, by the way.
Oh, it is a total goldmine.
Yeah.
Because our mission today is to figure out how their Be a Part of the Wave campaign is just completely rewriting the playbook. They're not just trying to fill seats here. They are attempting to build this massive, passionate, lasting sports culture from absolute scratch.
Yeah. To understand how they're pulling this off, we really have to look closely at the foundational philosophy that they outline in that internal document.
Okay, well, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because the vibe of this campaign is just infectious.
It really is. And they made this very deliberate, calculated pivot away from that broadcast model you just described. So instead of the megaphone, the entire campaign is built around a specific invitation.
An invitation.
Right. The motto isn't, come watch us play. The motto is, be a part of this.
Be a part of this.
Yeah.
It sounds like a really subtle tweak on the surface, but it just completely alters the dynamic between the team and the city.
Massively.
And in the documents, they actually compare their strategy to the brand Dove, like the soup company, which feels like a wild leap for a sports team to make. Help me unpack that connection there.
I know it sounds crazy, but it is a brilliant comparison when you look at the mechanics behind it. So decades ago, Dove realized they couldn't just keep shouting, buy our soap, it gets you clean.
Right, because every soap gets you clean.
Exactly, every soap does that. So they pivoted to what marketers call emotional storytelling. They built campaigns around self-esteem, redefining real beauty and championing values that their audience cared about on a deeply personal level.
Oh, wow. So by doing that, they kind of intertwined their product with their consumers' actual personal identities.
Precisely. And the San Diego Wave is applying that exact same psychological mechanism to professional soccer.
So instead of selling 90 minutes of soccer, they're actually selling the values of the community itself.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
But unlike a massive global corporation like Dove, the Wave is hyper-localizing this. They are looking directly at the San Diego community, specifically targeting Gen Z, local families and women of all ages, and they are linking the team's identity to the civic pride of the city itself.
And that brings us right back to that giant billboard analogy. The traditional billboard is a broadcast, right? You drive past it, maybe you notice it, maybe you just tune it out completely.
Usually you tune it out.
Exactly. But this Be a Part of the Wave philosophy, it feels entirely different. It feels like getting a personalized, handwritten invitation to the coolest, most welcoming block party in your neighborhood.
That is a perfect way to describe it.
Like you aren't just an attendee showing up to consume potato salad. You are an expected guest who is literally being asked to help set up the folding chairs.
And the mechanism behind that block party concept is exactly what makes it so incredibly powerful. Joshua Andrews actually touches on this beautifully in his interview.
Oh, right, the ROI assessment stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
The human brain processes passive consumption very differently than shared participation. When you evaluate a product like deciding to buy a movie ticket or that traditional sports ticket, your brain is doing this cold calculating ROI assessment.
Like, is this worth my time? Is this worth my $40?
Exactly. But sports at its highest level is not that. It is an emotional, shared, tribal experience. So by asking the fans to literally be a part of this, the marketing team shifts the fan's brain completely out of consumer mode and right into participant mode.
So you stop asking, what am I getting for my money? And you start asking, how can I contribute to this community?
And when a fan makes that psychological shift, they develop a profound sense of ownership. They don't just passively watch a broadcast anymore. They advocate for the team. They defend it.
Because it's theirs now.
Right. The bond becomes incredibly resilient because you are no longer evaluating a transactional product.
Right.
You are actively supporting your own community.
That is just so cool. But taking that philosophy from a strategy document and actually putting it into the real world is where this gets really fascinating to me. Let's look at how that block party invitation translates when you physically show up to the stadium.
Oh, the in-person environment is everything.
Yeah, reading through the sources, the crucible for this entire culture seems to be the unique magic of a women's professional game.
The physical stadium is absolutely where that theoretical community becomes tangible. The strategy documents highlight the in-game crowd dynamics, right? But the most critical element, like the real engine of their community building, is the post-game culture.
Yes. This is the part that genuinely stopped me in my tracks while reading the interview transcript. Andrew specifically points out what happens after the final whistle blows.
It's so different from other sports.
It really is. In most professional sports, the players wave politely from the center of the field, and then they just immediately disappear into the locker room tunnel. But here, the players physically come down to the stands, they lean over the rails, they talk to the fans, they sign autographs, they actually look kids directly in the eye.
And what is crucial to understand here from a strategic perspective is that the marketing team did not invent this behavior.
Wait, really? They didn't come up with this?
No, not at all. They didn't sit in a sterile boardroom and mandate, a 5-minute player-fan interaction window to boost their engagement metrics. This post-game intimacy was an organic, beautiful phenomenon that was already happening naturally in the culture of women's soccer.
Oh, wow, I love that.
Right. So the brilliance of a part of the WAVE campaign is that they recognized this organic behavior and consciously built their entire marketing apparatus around it.
Yeah.
They took this natural thing and turned it into a deliberate conversion funnel.
A conversion funnel.
Yeah.
Okay, explain how that works in the context of like signing an autograph.
Well, think about the journey of a casual fan. They might come to a game just out of mild curiosity,
It's
right?
a fun Saturday night out.
Exactly. But then after the game, when a professional athlete, someone they just watched perform at an elite level on a massive stage, walks right up to them, learns their name, and signs their jersey, that casual fan experiences a massive emotional spike.
I mean, I would too. That's unforgettable.
Right. That specific interaction converts them from a passive viewer into a lifetime stakeholder. It acts as a permanent emotional anchor.
And the impact of that, particularly for young girls in the stands, is just profound. Andrews talks about how these young fans aren't just watching a game anymore. They're observing high-level athletes modeling confidence and leadership and success in real time.
The psychology of representation is incredibly powerful, but it really requires tangibility to truly take root.
Tangibility.
Yeah, like it is one thing to see a successful woman on a television screen. That provides inspiration from a distance, sure. But when that same woman walks right up to the barricade, gives you a high five, and actually speaks to you, the representation crosses over from this abstract concept into a tangible reality.
It makes it real.
It signals to the brain that this level of achievement is not just possible, but accessible. And that creates a generational loyalty that absolutely no billboard could ever buy.
Man, I am just visualizing this incredible scene right now. The emotional connection, the players leaning over the rails, the kids getting their jerseys signed. It's such a beautiful image. But I do have a serious logistical question here.
Go for it.
Because the entire mission of the Wave is massive growth, right?
Right.
We're talking about scaling up to tens of thousands of screaming fans.
Huge crowds.
And time is linear. A player simply cannot sign 30,000 jerseys after every single game. So doesn't the physical reality of a massive, sold-out stadium eventually just crush that intimate community feeling?
That is the exact tension the internal strategy document attempts to resolve, actually. How do you scale intimacy?
How do you do it?
Because you're entirely correct. The physical world has limits. You cannot scale a post-game autograph session infinitely. So to solve that problem, the marketing team aggressively moves that stadium magic into the digital world. And they do it by deploying their most effective assets.
Which are the players themselves.
Ah, yes, the player-led content strategy. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, it's brilliant. The traditional sports marketing playbook says that official team social media accounts should be polished and corporate and highly controlled right. High-definition highlight reels, stylized graphics, and carefully vetted press releases.
Boring stuff, basically. Pretty much. But the WAVE strategy document outlines a complete departure from that. They position the athletes as their primary authentic brand ambassadors. They actually empower the players to share their own personal stories, post their own training tips, and communicate directly with the fans online.
This feels so incredibly relevant to how we all communicate today. It is the stark difference between reading a heavily edited corporate press release about a new player versus getting this raw, shaky, unfiltered video from that exact same player while they were just joking around on the team bus.
Exactly.
It feels like getting a FaceTime call from a friend.
And that FaceTime analogy is structurally perfect because of a psychological phenomenon called parasocial interaction.
Ooh, parasocial interaction. Tell me about that.
So the human brain evolved over millions of years in small, close-knit tribes, right? It has not fully adapted to the era of screens.
Oh, that makes sense.
So when you see a person looking directly into a camera lens, speaking casually and showing you their unpolished everyday life, your brain instinctively processes that person as a member of your actual social circle.
Wait, really?
Yes, you form a one-sided but emotionally very real relationship with them. This is a parasocial bond.
So by stripping away all that heavy corporate production value, the team is actually short-circuiting our defenses and allowing us to feel like we genuinely know these athletes.
Exactly. And for you, the listener tuning in right now, just think about your own social media feed for a second. When was the last time you felt a genuine emotional connection to a highly produced, faceless brand commercial?
Honestly, never.
Right. Contrast that with a raw behind-the-scenes video of someone you follow just going about their day. The Wave's digital strategy leans entirely into the latter. They specifically utilize TikTok for this. The internal documents show they actively create trend challenges, but the call to action is never buy tickets.
Right, let's be a part of this.
Well, specifically on TikTok, the call to action is show us your wave.
Show us your wave. Oh, wow. They're literally asking the fans to generate the content.
They are asking for co-creation. And on Instagram, the strategy focuses heavily on showcasing fan stories and behind-the-scenes moments, with the primary call to action being tag a friend to join the wave. It functions as a digital extension of that block party invitation.
And it completely bypasses the traditional marketing filters, which just has to be crucial for reaching that younger demographic they are targeting. I mean, Gen Z has been bombarded by hyper-targeted advertisements since the literal day they were born.
Oh, yeah, they see right through it.
Their internal radar for inauthenticity is just incredibly sharp. If a message feels even slightly corporate, they just tune it out immediately.
They don't just tune it out, they actively reject it. But if an athlete is just being themselves online, participating in a silly TikTok trend or giving a shout out to a local fan who made a clever sign that passes the authenticity test.
Because it's real.
Exactly. And what the strategy document details is how they loop this digital intimacy right back into the physical world.
Oh, how do they do that?
So they run community-focused online content highlighting local fans, and then they validate it with physical meet the players' visits to local San Diego schools. It creates this perpetual feedback loop of digital connection and real-world presence.
Which turns the fans themselves into the marketing engine. I mean, think about it. If an athlete visits your school or the official team account likes your TikTok, you are not keeping that quiet.
Oh, definitely not.
You are texting your friends, you are sharing the post. You basically become a massive amplifier for the team.
Because you feel seen. And when a community feels seen and validated, word-of-mouth promotion becomes completely organic and basically unstoppable.
Man. So let's take a step back and look at the larger trajectory here. We have this deep emotional storytelling. We have the tangible post-game autograph culture turning casual fans into lifetime stakeholders. And we have this brilliant player-led digital strategy building these real parasocial bonds.
It's a very comprehensive ecosystem.
It really is. So according to Joshua Andrews, where's all of this ultimately heading for the city of San Diego?
It is driving toward the creation of a brand new civic identity. San Diego already has a legendary reputation, right? The beautiful beaches, the weather, a long history of various sports franchises. But this campaign is not just trying to be another entertainment option on a Saturday night. They are pitching the concept of the new wave.
The new wave. I really, really love that phrasing. It implies this forward momentum. It feels fresh. It is essentially telling the city, hey, this is the next evolution of what it actually means to be a San Diegan.
Exactly. It connects the sports team directly to the future of the city itself. Andrews points out that when you successfully pitch an identity like that, you completely transform fan behavior.
How so?
Well, in the old transactional model of sports marketing, a team just hopes that a resident wakes up on a weekend, realizes they have absolutely no plans, and spontaneously decides to buy a ticket to a game.
A completely spur-of-the-moment decision just based on convenience.
Right. But the Waves approach is designed to change the underlying habit. They want the game to be the immovable anchor of the fans' entire week. Because the fans feel like co-creators of this new wave culture, the game isn't an afterthought. They plan their week around it. They coordinate with their friend group on Wednesday. They buy the merchandise on Friday. They show up to the stadium early on Saturday, and they post about the whole experience on Sunday. It creates this compounding cultural momentum.
When you lay it all out like that, it just becomes incredibly clear to me that the San Diego Wave isn't actually in the business of selling soccer matches at all.
No, they are.
They're selling a lifestyle.
Yeah.
They're selling belonging. It is an absolute masterclass in making individuals feel like they're an essential piece of a much larger puzzle. I
Yeah.
mean, if you remove the fans from the equation, the wave literally ceases to exist.
Exactly.
And the organization uses every single touch point, from the handshake over the stadium railing to the shaky TikTok video, to remind the fans of exactly how vital they are.
And the true genius of that approach is its long-term sustainability. The ultimate end game for this campaign isn't just, a temporary spike in merchandise sales or a brief little trend in attendance.
Right? It's way bigger than that.
As Andrews notes, the goal is establishing a permanent, deeply rooted culture. When a fan fundamentally believes they are a co-creator of the culture rather than just a consumer of a product, that bond becomes virtually unbreakable.
That makes total sense.
A losing streak or a difficult season won't sever the relationship because human beings do not abandon a community that they helped build.
Going right back to our analogy from earlier, you don't just walk away from the neighborhood block party just because the weather turns bad. You grab a tarp, you hold an umbrella over the grill, and you weather the storm with your neighbors.
That is perfectly said. You build weatherproof fans by making them family.
Wow. Let's bring this all together with a quick summary. For you, the listener, right now, whether you are an executive trying to launch a new product, a manager trying to motivate your team, or simply someone who appreciates a brilliantly executed cultural movement, the lessons pulled from the San Diego Wave's strategy are just profound.
Truly profound.
True lasting growth does not come from shouting the loudest with a corporate megaphone. It comes from trusting your community, establishing genuine emotional anchors, and leaning into unabashed, messy authenticity.
It requires the courage to basically trade the safety of the broadcast for the vulnerability of the invitation. It is about letting your people be human, dropping that polished corporate facade, and genuinely asking your audience to help you build something meaningful.
Which brings us right back to the tension we started with at the top of the deep dive. We discussed that traditional impersonal billboard demanding that you buy tickets now. The San Diego Wave tore that billboard down and replaced it with a simple, deeply human request. Be a part of this.
And it is working beautifully.
It really is. So I want to leave you with a final lingering thought to explore long after this deep dive is over. If a professional sports franchise can build this massive, passionate, and fiercely loyal culture by simply letting its athletes be human and empowering fans to co-create the experience, what other rigid traditional institutions in our lives could completely revolutionize their relationship with us by dropping their corporate megaphones, opening the doors, and simply saying, be a part of this?